Okay, good evening. This is your boy D Freezy, aka Cleezy for Sheezy. This is the next episode of the Gospel of Cleezy, the podcast. I've titled this episode the selection, play on words, selection edition. Some people are of the opinion that the vote really doesn't have a lot to do with it. They say they're selected, not elected. I'm not going to get into the philosophy behind that tonight, but I thought it was, eye catching, might get your attention. Let's get on into it. So I was off last week. I didn't do an episode. Uh, was attending the homecoming of the best college in the United States, North Carolina Central University, Eagle Pride. So I took the last Sunday off to recover from the festivities, if you will. I'm back, and some things have happened in the time that I've been away. So let's get right on into it. Um, so as we all aware, day after tomorrow is election day for the 2024 presidential election. Let's hope and pray that all of the texts and the robocalls and every way they could think of to contact people will cease or at least slow down after Tuesday. Reports that I've been seeing are saying that we may not know the results the night of. Everything I'm seeing, I'm looking at an article from WRAL. Most polls, I ain't gonna say most. Every poll says something a little different. Um, they're continuing to say that the race is neck and neck. And this article that I'm looking at right now from WRAL says final NBC News poll has Trump races neck and neck with significant gender gap. So what they're alluding to in the headline is that um, because of abortion, um, Harris have an advantage with women over Donald Trump. So if that's women across all ethnicities and classes, then I can't understand how it would be neck and neck. But my opinion is they are going to continue to say it's neck and neck because they want ratings and they want people to tune in. So they will continue to say that so that we are interested. Because I think if they said that Harris was well ahead of Trump, then most people would kind of like tune out and not even, uh, tune in to see what's being said about the presidential election. So, at the presidential level, um, we'll see what happens. I am very proud of myself, and I wanted to pat myself on the back because I have engaged in very little, it's relative, uh, political debate this cycle. And I was, the guy that uh, I no, you don't know what you're talking about. So I consider myself evolving and constantly learning and adjusting to the environment around me. So I have not gotten into any deep Facebook debates, Twitter debates, Instagram debates, anywhere else in person or on social media. Very much. I have my opinion, and I've saved my opinions pretty much for my viewers here on the podcast. And you know, if you feel like you have a reason to vote for either candidate, and you feel like that candidate is going to uh, see to your interest, then as long as you're voting, it's fine with me. I was talking, I think, to my son, and he asked me what I thought was going to happen. I said, I don't know. I didn't think the first time that Donald Trump was elected that he was going to be elected. So I have been wrong before. So I am not going to, say what I think is going to happen. I'm hopeful that it won't be another 4 years of him, uh, just because I don't like the rhetoric and the things that he's allowed to do that would be unacceptable for anybody other than him. And in talking about that, there was a it was disguised as, it was billed as a political rally. It looked like a Ku Klux Klan rally to me. That they held at Madison Square Garden in the last week. I think that was um I don't even have the date on it. I had it up. Um Let me see if I can see when the date was. October 28th. No, that's not it. Um, at any rate, the they had a bunch of people on there. They had Dr. Phil was on there talking stupid about DEI. And the thing about Dr. Phil is, bro, how you gonna criticize being a DEI stuff and you're a DEI hire? Oprah made you who you are, a black woman. Now, I'll say my criticisms for uh, Sister Winfrey for another episode, but irrespective of that, she made you who you are. Nobody knew who Dr. Phil was until you started coming on the Oprah show, and then you subsequently segued into your own show. From what I understand, you're not even a licensed therapist. You're just a country dude, and people like your accent, and you probably connect with a segment of America that tunes in to daytime TV. So you were probably a good fit, and but you're a DEI hire. So how can you criticize anything about diversity? What did you email me your accomplishments that put you? You're not even a licensed therapist. So how can what did you do that was so special that you got your own talk show, or that you got invited on to Oprah Winfrey to talk about um, emotional issues and mental issues that people are going through? Do you even have a degree in that? Is my question. So, you know, um, you got a lot of stones, as they would say, without being vulgar about it. The audacity to go up there and say something about anybody's work and achieving stuff through hard work. I don't know the I don't know of your hard work, so you would have to make me aware of that. And if there is and if there is evidence of some kind of hard work that's exceptional, then I recant my statement. But until it's proven otherwise, you're a DI hire. So, but uh, the other person that stood out or made the headlines was a comedian named Tony Hinchcliffe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Tony Hinchcliffe. He said some wild things, and he's a comedian, but they were offensive, and um, he didn't spare any group. He made some really disparaging comments about Puerto Rico. He called it something to the effect of an island, a floating island of garbage. He said something really vulgar about uh, their attitudes towards birth control. Um, and you can look it up. I won't play it because I don't know if it will get cleared or removed. Um, but you can find it. I'm sure you've seen it. But the thing that was interesting to me was he made a comment about carving up watermelons with his black friend, and that kind of like went under the radar. It was like, oh, that if we rate on the scale of offensive things, he made a comment about Jews and money. Um, but the comment about watermelons and black people, that was just like, eh. And then immediately his supporters and people backing him came out and said, well, Donald Trump didn't say it. I saw Marco Rubio on Face the Nation this morning. Donald Trump didn't say those things. That was somebody before him, and you can't attribute it. It's a rally for him. He's standing at a damn podium with Trump Vance on it. You know, this is what concerns me more than, you know, can Donald Trump do anything to drastically change my day-to-day life? He can. But what concerns me more than that is the people that he is emboldening, that are being emboldened by the way he acts, and they will take it upon themselves to think that they can act that way in uh, everyday life with people they encounter. And what I would like to remind those people of is, you know, Donald Trump can say all kinds of outlandish things because Donald Trump has a secret security detail. You do not. So that is not a threat. That is just to make you aware of the fact that he is being protected by people who are paid to protect him. The average person does not have a security detail. So I say that to say, be mindful of how you interact with other people, and be mindful of a certain amount of decorum that just is expected and is you know, needed in everyday life. I mean, you shouldn't feel like you have to gloat or boast or, you know, do things that rise to the level of offense, because the person that you support in a political office does that. That's not a good example, and that's not the direction that the country we're all citizens of needs to move into. So, um, you know, that was, and I think I saw James Carville. I forget which show I saw him on. He's a political guy, pundit, analyst. He's been involved in many presidential campaigns. He said that the rally was similar. A lot of people said it, but I think I heard him say it. Similar to a rally that was held at Madison Square Garden on February 20th, 1939, by the German American Bund Society, BUND, Bund. And they were a pro-Hitler, a German American pro-Hitler society. And there were a lot of parallels between what was said at that rally. I saw a lot of comparisons made between what was said at that rally in 1939 and what was said at this rally that the Trump campaign had at Madison Square Garden in the past week. And ironically enough, Donald Trump is of German descent. Is that a coincidence? Does anybody think that, you know, I'll leave it up to you to come to that conclusion, but the Trump family do originate from Germany, and the German, and there's been a lot of talk about Hitler saying no, Hitler, part self. Trump saying he wishes he had generals like Hitler did. Um, there's a book that is said to have been on Trump's nightstand, written by Adolf Hitler. It is not. It is not Mein Kampf. It is The New Order, which I think is the book that followed Mein Kampf that Hitler wrote. And I forget. I think his Ivanka. I heard somewhere that Ivanka had a problem with him reading that book, and that's what started their descent into divorce. And I don't know how true that is. It's unsubstantiated, but I did hear that. But you know, he he talks about Hitler a lot, from what I understand, way more than a person running for the president of the United States should talk about Hitler. I mean, if you're talking about Hitler in a as a in reverence, that's a problem. That's all I can say about that. So yeah, they had a Klan rally without the hoods at Madison Square Garden for the Donald Trump campaign. It was disgusting and embarrassing. But it's what we've come to expect from that group. Um, so yeah. Um, so I was talking about, so that's what's going on in the political world. Oh, at home in North Carolina, where I reside, it appears that the goofy Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson will not be the governor of North Carolina. Last thing I saw, uh, Josh Stein was ahead by about 15 points. He uh, Mark Robinson thought that he could act like Trump, and he didn't realize that there's one difference between him and Trump. Even though he calls himself, he's a self-proclaimed black Nazi. Um, he evidently is unaware of the Nazi party or group's stance towards people of color or African Americans or Nubians. He evidently didn't get the memo that they were a white nationalist slash supremacist group, which he would not have been a member of. So for a person with any familiarity with history, a black person with any familiarity with history, to refer to themselves as a black Nazi, it's something, not the elevator's not going all the way up to the top. But you know, there are religious texts that speak about uh, selling your soul to gain the world, if you go for that sort of thing, and there's some truth to that. But I think uh, brother. So I'm just gonna call him a brother. Um, that's not a term I'm gonna use for him, Mr. Robinson. Yeah, I don't think Mr. Robinson. What's good, my man from way back. What's good, V Dub? Good to see you on. Glad you could join us tonight. Um, so yeah, talking about politics at the presidential level and at the state level. Early voting ended here in North Carolina on Saturday. So if you did not vote before 3 p.m. on Saturday, you will have to wait until the polls open on Tuesday, the November the 5th. And like I said, some people are saying, "Oh, this is the other thing I wanted to talk about. This is important." So um, I don't know that everything I say is important, but this is important. Current Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, did not vote to certify the 2020 election results. He is the current Speaker of the House. Pay close attention to this. He may not. So the line that is coming from the Republican Party is they're being asked, will you accept the results of the 2024 election? The response is always, yes, we will, if it is a fair and legal election. This is a qualifying statement. They are saying that because if Trump loses, they're going to say it wasn't fair and legal. And so be prepared for that. Now, back to Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson became the Speaker of the House because they threw out Kevin McCarthy or I think it was Kevin McCarthy. But they had a whole thing where it wasn't even a speaker for a number of weeks because they couldn't get their stuff together. They didn't want to go with. And if I'm not mistaken, they wanted to get rid of the last speaker because he would not say that the election results were bogus. So Mike Johnson would, because he did not vote. He was a congressman already. He did not vote to certify the 2020 election results. So the thing that can prevent that from happening, pay close attention. The Democrats have to win 4 seats in the House. If the Democrats pick up 4 seats in the House, then and oh, The new speaker will be likely be Hakeem Jeffries, and he will be sworn in with the new Congress coming in on January the 3rd. So will then he has said that he will honor the results of the election. So that's important. If they already tried to stop the steal bullshit, they're going to try it again. So we need to pay close attention to the Congress, the Congress, the House of Representatives in particular. They need to pick up. Democrats need to pick up 4 seats to regain the speaker position. So pay close attention to that. Now, the other thing is, if Trump loses and is certified, January 6th. We know what happened in January. We know what happened January 6th, 2020. We know that. In all likelihood, something similar to that is going to happen again on January 6th. This is all I will say about that. This is my suggestion. This is my suggestion. I would expect the law enforcement apparatus and the federal government to treat the people, if and when they come and try to take over the Capitol as they did on January 6, 2020. This is very simple. This is what I want you. This is what I would like to see. I would like to see the people that are doing this be treated the same way you would treat black people. If several thousand black people went to the Capitol and said we were going to overthrow the government, what would be the response from law enforcement and the federal government of the United States? That's a rhetorical question. So the only thing I would expect is, we talking about DEI, be equitable in your treatment of the people that come and try to overthrow our democracy. Because I bet you, some people have to touch, some people have to feel. Thank you. Yeah, it would be a lot of carnage. It would be a lot of carnage if it was black people. And black people know that. They try to paint us as hyper violent and super predators and all of these negative connotations, but we know our lane, and we know what will bring us a swift and decisive end to our lives. So you don't have to worry about, as a group, you don't have to worry about black people doing anything like that. That's super illegal. I mean, first of all, and they don't even realize what they're doing. They're calling into question our whole political process. And these things are all concepts and ideas that require everyone to buy into them. And if everyone, as soon as more than half don't buy into it, then you have chaos. And so, and these people think they want chaos, but I would submit that they don't want what they think they want, because if they did, when they were trying to go through that door and that woman jumped through and her life was taken, nobody else went through the door. So you're not about that life. You just out there to go viral and go live. You don't it's not going to be the way you think it's going to be. I promise you. It's not like this is something you can do and then when it's over you can go to Starbucks. That's not what this is. You need to stop watching so much TV. The things that you are trying to destroy are, many of them, you rely on for survival. So I don't understand it. It's amazing to me that these people would go against their own interests, and they don't, just for the sake of racial superiority. It's a fallacy. You think you're superior, but in reality, if you're not wealthy, we're the same because I'm not wealthy. So that's what I'll say about that. So moving on, like as I said, I attended, and this is gonna segue into what I want to end with tonight. I attended homecoming at North Carolina Central last weekend before last, um, a weekend of the 24th of October, I believe. Excuse me. So it was a good time. Everybody was out having a good time. Looking good, seeing people that we hadn't seen since we were on campus together, things of that nature. But somewhere around 8 p.m. on the 24th, uh, shots were fired in two separate incidents. And in the second incident, some people were injured. Shaw University had their homecoming this past weekend, and a person was shot and is now in critical condition. We got to do better. We got to do better. And I'm gonna tell you this much: homecoming at both of those universities is gonna be very different next year. It's gonna be very different, and I don't understand why we congregate and there has to be gunplay. What are we beefing with each other about? And why don't we keep that same energy when we're disrespected from outside the community? I don't understand that. We're quick to and they say black on black crime, and then the other side of the argument is, well, people commit violent acts against people where they live, and because America is so segregated, that's why all the violence in our community is against each other. And there's probably some merit to that, but we take all kinds of disrespect from outside the community, from the workplace, from school, from anything we come into contact with, because this is a country built on racism, uh, on land theft and genocide and kidnapping and brutality. And so we are getting that everywhere, but we take that and internalize it and take it out on each other. And my mentor, uh, he talks about this all the time. There's a book, and I'm going to try to share it. Present. This book by Dr. Bobby E. Wright, The Psychopathic Racial Personality. This book was a subject of a lot of controversy back in the late 80s, early 90s, because Bill Clinton, Sister Soldier, shout out to Sister Soldier, shout out to Public Enemy, shout out to Chuck D, Flavor Flav, Griff. Sister Soldier was down with Public Enemy. She quoted the book, and in the book, Dr. Wright says, "What up, homie? Peace. Thank you for joining." In the book, Dr. Wright basically says blacks kill blacks because they haven't been trained to kill others. And I added others. He didn't say others. He said a specific group. And Sister Soldier said that in a public setting, and Bill Clinton picked that up, and Sister Soldier was subsequently blackballed from the music industry because of that comment, and because Bill Clinton used it as a talking point to say, the radical blacks, needed to be put in check, so to speak, and he made her, he made her the sacrificial lamb, for lack of a better term. But and I don't want to make it seem as if But yeah, Psychopathic Racial Personality by Dr. Bobby E. Wright. Pick that up if you haven't, if you're interested. There's some interesting things. I don't think I've read it, but my mentor talks about it a lot. So it's kind of like ingrained in me because he is someone I respect and I respect his opinion. So I just want to talk about that. I want to talk about why we are so quick to, and in my experience here living here in Durham, North Carolina, it's my younger brothers and sisters that are the ones that are quick to go to the gun. Um, once you reach the age I am, I'm unk status. Um, we just trying to, go and get our groceries and go home and get into bed. We're not as quick to, go become violent. I guess most of us. Some of us, it's not. That's a blanket statement and it doesn't apply in individual situations. But why is that? And we know that if it bleeds, it leads, and if it's black and bleeds, it's definitely gonna lead. We know when they show when there's a shooting on the news, we're all praying, please don't let them be black. Let's be honest. That's what we're saying. Please don't let them be black. And then when it's black, but we know quickly when they're black because their picture's gonna be taken up there. If you don't see a picture, we know who that is. It's not us. And that's just the way they promote images of black people as being criminal. But we don't do ourselves any favors. And you know, this country is built on majority rule. We're already a minority. We make up 15% or something like that of the population. We can't afford to be knocking each other off. It's a numbers game. Um, you know, and that's why I started with the Black Liberation Action Committee, a conflict resolution line. The number is the same number that's at the bottom of the screen now. If anybody knows of some young people that are in conflict or having a conflict, I'd be glad to talk to them and see if I can help in any way, because I'm that dedicated to not seeing young people, you know, destroy their lives before they even begin. Life is precious. We shouldn't be so quick. The reaction has to match the offense. If somebody says something, and I get it, I was a young man once, and I was what you could consider hot headed or had a temper or whatever the case may be. But like, don't let 10 seconds lead you to a lifetime of grief and despair. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about that. Doctor, so the book is The Psychopathic Racial Personality and Other Essays by Dr. Bobby E. Wright. If you didn't get it, hit me up on one of in one of the arenas, and I'll send you the name of the book. So that leads me into, and you remember I said, why are we so quick to do it to each other when we take levels, in my opinion, of disrespect that are exponentially greater than the minor offenses we encounter with each other. You stepped on my shoes, and it may be deeper than that. It may be something a little more egregious than that. But we're just so quick to rub each other out. And I think some of it is because we have been taught and accepted that we are less than, that our life, nobody else respects us, so we don't respect ourselves. And we shouldn't evaluate or value ourselves based on people outside our community. Um, Everybody, and I said this in relation to the situation in Gaza. Everybody that's born has a right to exist, unless they're doing something that is threatening your life. There's really never any good reason to go to the level of violence where you would possibly end someone else's life, and especially not if it's your a person of, well, any life, but if it's a person in your community, even more so. Um, and then we just need to realize that. So that kind of led me to, I was listening to the Carl Nelson show this week. I was just listening to it, as a matter of fact, and I'm a little, I don't know, the time change has y'all thrown off, but it has me all thrown off. So I'm kind of all over the place, but I reserve the right to get better. So I was listening to the Carl Nelson show, and Dr. Jerome Fox was on there, and I've talked about this book before. I'll show you the name of it. It is Addicted to White: The Oppressed in League with the Oppressor, a Shame-Based Alliance by Dr. Jerome E. Fox. And he was on there and he talked about some of the things that I'm alluding to or referencing. And I'm going to go to page 11 and get this book because I think it's useful. And I haven't read all of it yet, but I've read some. So he has some values that he calls white values. And he says that by black people taking on this value system, it's showing that we are addicted to our oppressor. And Stokely Carmichael said something related. He said that we have been miseducated to the point where we feel that our interests are directly tied to the interests of our oppressor, when the reality is that our interests are diametrically opposed to those of our oppressor. So what is good for them is bad for us, and vice versa. And that's extreme. You know, it's levels, right? Levels spelled backwards is levels. Shout out to Nori. Um, it's levels. It may not be that black and white. Most things aren't, but there may be some truth to it. So our job is to think critically about that and determine where the line is. Is it all the way what Stokely is saying, or is there, do you have to back up a little bit and say, well, you know, some things are for the greater good, and the greater good. That's a slogan we hear all the time, right? It's for the greater good, but the greater good should not mean any group has to suffer um, or be oppressed. So that's not the greater good. The greater good, in my mind, doesn't have the oppression of any group in it. It has fairness and equity across all groups. I know that's looking at the world through rose-colored glasses, but that's what I call the greater good. So I'm gonna just run through the value. So white value number one: everything white is good, superior, or valuable. Everything black is bad, inferior, or worthless. We third base, MC Search, shout out to MC Search, shout out to third base. Rest in peace to Doom, who was Zev Love X when in the third base days. Black cats are bad luck. Bad guys wear black. It must have been a white guy who started all that. That's from the song Gas Face. So yeah, the black jelly bean. You seen it in the movie Malcolm X when Brother Baines was, bringing uh, Malcolm into the nation and opening his eyes. He showed him how, in the dictionary everything black was associated with uh, death and darkness and wickedness and evil, and everything white was associated with purity. Um, and which is kind of backwards when you think about it, because darkness comes before light, and without the darkness, the light, you wouldn't even notice it. If everything was light, you wouldn't notice light. So only out of the triple stage darkness, going back to the teachings of the nations of gods and earth, does life come forth. Um, you know, but so it goes on to say the imbalanced perspective is strengthened by a subconscious directive to distrust and summarily dismiss any activity or person that dares to challenge it. E.g., the late Khalid Abdul Muhammad, one of my heroes. May he rest in peace. Revolutionary leader of the New Black Panther Party and his 1998 Black Million Black Youth March in Harlem. And Sam Greenlee, author of The Spook Who Sat by the Door. So everything, these are subconscious things that we're taught that we don't even realize. Everything white is good, everything black is bad. And then what do they call us? Black people. So what does that mean? We're bad. What does that mean? Our life is not as valuable as, you know, it's not valuable to others, so it's not valuable to us. Okay. Moving on. White value 2. Tangibles are valuable. Intangibles are worthless. Hence, things are to be pursued more vigorously than relationships. So this is rugged individualism and materialism, right? Um, the one who dies with the most toys wins. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have to have a relationship to my community. I got a big house and a car and all that. But that's all well and good until you out on the road and get stopped by a racist cop, and he don't care where you live at. You know, um, white value number 3. White oppressors are trustworthy recorders and interpreters of history and reality. I'm gonna read that one again. White oppressors are trustworthy recorders and interpreters of history and reality. This speaks to miseducation. This speaks to the labeling of teaching the truth as CRT or critical race theory. They want us to believe that by teaching the true history of this country, that is wrong, and that somehow we are wrong for teaching our children the truth about what has happened and why many of us are in the economic and political condition that we are in. They rewrote the books that says, slaves were happy, and they weren't slaves, they were helpers. They pull all kinds of tricks, especially in the academic world. And because of what they do, and they're miseducating all of us, black, white, Chinese, and everybody. And the manifestation of that is people who say slavery was so long ago. And relative to what? And then that's without even doing any kind of cursory glance at what happened after slavery, especially from 1865 to 1965. And if anybody needs to be brought up to speed on that, hit me up. I can tell you, I can hit the high points for you right off the top of my head. Now, if we want to go deeper than that, I can give you some things to read and some books that I've read that'll explain to you that there was no, you know, we had to do a lot to get any semblance of equality for black people, for people that look like me. Um, so this is absurd. This is a absurd value. This absurd value is a padlock that keeps Africans chained to white oppression so securely that, as James Baldwin indicated, a truly different world order is virtually impossible for them to conceive. White value number 4. Individualism is better than collectivism. Hence, obligations to the group are subordinate to personal gain. And we see this all the time. That's the coons. If you're a coon and that offends you, I don't care. They going back to Stokely. Anybody who has achieved anything, any black person who has achieved anything in this country, it has come through the blood of those that came before them. And you cannot show me one instance where it hasn't. In sports, what did the athletes back in the 40s, 50s have to do, the black athletes have to do so that the athletes today can do what they do? So when you get to a position and you turn away from your group, you're a Benedict Arnold. You're a traitor in my mind. You're a traitor in my mind because you're ignoring the people that sacrifice for you to be able to do what you're doing. And there's no exception to that. From Barack Obama to LeBron James to Deion Sanders to Oprah Winfrey, anybody you name, anything they have, somebody before them bled so they could have it. And if you can prove if you can show me someone who didn't, please do. I'd like to learn too. And I don't know everything. But I cannot think of one off my head. I cannot think of a person off my head that could say nobody sacrificed before me for me to get what I have. I can not a black person. I can't think of one. And then finally, white value number 5. The best way to feel good about yourself is by surpassing, outdoing, and defeating someone else in an activity, achievement, or personal characteristics. Again, it's going back to you singling out yourself and becoming. It's a movie. I haven't seen it yet. You becoming the exceptional Negro. I give you a perfect example. Byron Donalds of Florida, congressman in Florida. Donald Trump said he's one of the good ones. So if you achieve some level of material success, and I've said this before, we need to redefine what success means for our community. You're different. If you achieve, oh, you're different. You're not like the rest of them. I don't hear it all the time because people know better than to say crazy stuff to me like that. But I hear it said about black people. And I just learned last night, matter of fact, about a lady uh, that was a Buffalo soldier named Kathy Williams. And on the Department of Defense records, they called her William Kathy because it was not supposed to be a woman in combat, but she was enlisted and was paid, and she could hunt, run, as the gentleman told me, she could lead raids, she could track people, she could do everything the men could do. And you would be led to believe that she was exceptional, but she probably wasn't the only one that could do everything. Be a soldier, you know. Um, but these are the games they run on us to make us, the high achieving ones. They want to take us away from the group so that we can't help it. And you see it all the time with successful athletes and entertainers. They don't live in the hood, and hell, I'm not saying I blame them. I'm not saying I blame them, but because if you stay in the hood, you're subject to hood things. But like, how is it ever going to change if every time somebody gets some money, we leave, and then we don't reach back and don't try to make things better for those that are still there. And I some do. I'm not saying everybody does. Turns their back, but it's it's always a separation. You know what I mean? And in their defense, it's sometimes a lot of hate from the people in our community. They're like, "Oh, you think you this and that." We gotta get out of the jealousy. We gotta get out of the jealousy and being envious and it's because it's counterproductive. You know, we should celebrate when somebody in our community achieves something. You know, LeBron James. I don't know. No, I'm a LeBron fan. I'm gonna just go ahead and say that. Not necessarily because I think the argument that's crazy to me is who's better, him or Jordan. I don't compare the two, but I don't necessarily think he's a better basketball player than Michael Jordan. But the things he does outside of sports far surpass. I mean, as far as using his platform to speak on behalf of his people, that far surpasses Mike. And I love Mike. Mike is my favorite player ever. But when it comes to, and they try to tell, they try to tell our athletes, shut up and dribble. When they make political statements that run counter to the status quo, they tell us to shut up. Now, if you want to, if you're black and you want to put on a MAGA hat, now they're not really going to have a problem with that. But if you say something about the oppression of black people in this country and want equality for them, they're gonna respond in a negative way. But he doesn't let that stop him. And I haven't seen anything. Anytime there's an issue, and he just recently came out and endorsed VP Harris for the presidency too. Anytime there's an issue, anytime he's asked, he stays on code. So I don't have no problem with him. You can have the debate about who's the best player, like, but all around person, I'm gonna have to give it to King James. And, and the son, shout out to him. People's mad. His son shouldn't be on there. That's like you saying you work for a man that owns a company and he dies and leaves. He transitions and leaves the company to his children, and you say, "Well, I work for you. Why would you give it to them? Why you think that's his kids?" It happens all the time. But see, that's another way we judge ourselves by a different standard, a more strict standard than we judge our oppressors by. I don't, it's self-hatred to me. I can't call it anything else. So I'm not on that. If you're a self-hater, if you hate your people because you think they're better than you because they have some level of material success, then you and I really don't have anything in common. And if I have to deal with you, I will, but it's not going to be a whole lot of extracurricular talk for you. I don't have no words for you. I'm not going to do that. Maybe if they do achieve something, they may whisper in my ear and tell me something to help me do it. Who knows? But I'm not worried about material success. I'm worried about us being able to determine our own destiny. That's what I'm worried about, without interference from outside. And whatever we accomplish or don't, it's on us. That may sound crazy, but that's my goal, and I will continue to provide information to that end. So that's about all I got for you tonight. As I said, Tuesday is a big day. If you haven't voted yet, please do. I won't tell you who to vote for. I'm not being paid by either party. But now that I think about it, I did hear, and I think I mentioned this on the last episode, I heard that the Republican Party was paying a lot of black people with platforms, influencers, and things of that nature, a lot of money to talk crazy about the Democratic nominee. And from what I see, I believe it, because they're saying some crazy stuff. And it's unsubstantiated. People won't even do a quick Google search to see if it makes sense. They just repeating it. So interesting times. All right. Well, I will be back with you next week, and we'll talk about what happens. We're gonna see what happens on Tuesday. I hope you all have a great week. Peace and love. Cleasy out.